all of this heartbreak and anguish was all my fault, as usual. I've come to accept that it usually is my fault, and well, that's okay. We learn to fight another day. Oh my gosh. Moroni, thank you so much for coming on the show, my friend. Thank you for being patient. And that was a bit much, but I do appreciate you being patient with us and getting through it. And we're here now. We're here. So, Moroni, A Dead Desire, you have such an interesting bio. Like when you sent me your bio and I was asking you for like maybe an EPK or something, and you sent me your website, I was just like, oh my god, we got too much to talk about because we we share a lot of similarities in I don't know. I mean, we just share similarities in addiction and how we view music in the music industry. So I'd love to just get right into it, man. So tell me, man, where are you from again? Now, where are you from? Where were you brought up?
I was brought up. I was born in Logan, Utah. I was raised in Bear Lake, Idaho. Like
Oh,
really
okay.
small valley, Bear Lake, Idaho. It's the bottom, like the southeastern part of Idaho, the very bottom. Well, if you look at the map, the bottom right corner of Idaho.
Okay, okay. You now, did you have music in your? Is there a lineage of music in your family at all? Do you come from a family of music?
Yeah, my grandfather, he's from Mexico. He used to play the upright bass. He used to sing and play the guitar and played a lot of instruments. And my mother, she's always sang. And my grandfather on my mom's side also plays the piano and guitar and sings as well. And I didn't really get into it until middle school, really, like eighth grade is when I really started to. Well, I got a guitar. I didn't really take it seriously until after high school.
What now? Okay, so you just were strumming around in your bedroom and just what were you listening to? What were you listening to at that time? As
I wasn't really allowed to listen to music until I was about 12 or
what are
13.
you saying? You weren't allowed to listen to music, like period?
I wasn't able to select the music that I was. My parents were very strict, really hardcore LDS family, and I grew up listening to what they listened to, which wasn't bad. It was actually really good music. Like my father used to listen to Bob Seger, Foreigner, REO Speedwagon, ELO, like America. My mom used to listen to Styx, The Carpenters, ABBA, um, Journey, The Carpenters. It goes on.
So it's
There's just
legit. It's a legit music. It wasn't like they had you on some LDS type. And for anybody who doesn't know LDS, it's Latter Day Saints or Mormons, right?
yeah, the
Uh,
Marmot.
the Marmons. Hey, and which I gotta say, I played Salt Lake City and Ogden a few times as a musician, and very lovely people, very lovely people. I have
Really,
nothing.
they can be.
Nothing against the Mormons, but I do hear that it gets a little weird. Gets a little funny, and I'm not trying to make fun of anybody's religion here,
No,
but
when you get to, like the hardcore Mormon family that don't listen to any mainstream music, it's like you go to one of their family get-togethers, like, "Oh, put on some music," and then they put it on, and it's like, "You are my sunshine, my sunshine." It's like, oh my gosh, like
yeah.
it's actually it hurts my stomach.
Well, oh yeah,
There's
totally, man. No, I get it. I get it.
no soul in that. Like, let's just be modest and not experience like emotions.
Let's everybody stay modest here. We're not feeling
Yeah,
anything,
yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Everybody calm down. There's no
Yeah,
feelings
no,
going on here.
feeling sadness, you better suppress that. We're happy for you.
um,
You
that's
God in the house. We are happy children.
well, there's on the terms of music, I could feel that because with Catholicism, I'm not really much of a Catholic, but I was brought up Catholic, and the music that's associated with the church there is very, "Oh," and it's not very
Yeah,
like.
yeah,
I played with a Baptist band, and I've always said if I was ever going to be attracted to another religion or another sect of Christianity, it would be Baptist, but it had to
yeah,
be like the Black Baptist Church.
yeah. They jam out. They
Yeah,
jam out.
exactly, because you could feel it. You
Great
could
coffee.
you can feel the Holy Spirit. You know what I mean? Like they channel the Holy Spirit through their soulful tunes, and I can feel it. I just feel it. But so like going back into your childhood and stuff. How was your high school experience? Were you a popular kid? Did you play a lot of sports? Were
Oh,
you?
I actually got bullied quite a bit. I was an overweight, introverted kid.
Hmm.
I, I I grew up in a small town in like St. Charles, Idaho. It's Bear Lake, Idaho. It's the population's like, man, I don't want to over or under exaggerate, whatever you want to call it. It's like 400. It's
Oh,
like small. It's like everybody knows everybody. And I didn't like I was saying, I didn't get to listen to my own music until I was like 12 or 13, where my oldest brother, was working for my grandfather in Smithfield, Utah, and I went to stay with him for a month out of the summer. And while he was working there, he had bought some CDs from Sam Goody, and we were kicking it one night, and he puts on Korn, Follow the Leader.
oh, nice.
And that whole album, I was just blown away by it. So, and then Incubus, he put on the album with the "Pardon Me" song on it.
Yeah, pardon me while
Yeah,
I
when I
burn.
heard those, I was like, man, this is freaking awesome. So I started exploring all the '90s rock type music, and I fell in love with that whole vibe, like the Deftones, um, Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails, Korn, Tool, A Perfect Circle. I mean, and it goes outside of that too.
I'm sure.
There's like brand new. Um, there was the Receiving End of Sirens. There was so many bands to list that were like really had a big part. But I guess like my main influence was Nine Inch Nails. Like after a while, I started listening to Nine Inch Nails quite a bit, and I was blown away about how he did all the instrumentation and everything, and wrote all the songs and everything. So thought it
Yeah.
was pretty awesome.
Yeah, Trent Reznor is he's the man.
Oh yeah,
How did your parents receive, like, when you started listening to other music? Was it something that
they
was?
hated it. They're like, they heard Corn and they were like, "Turn that garbage off!" You need to. And it's like, but it makes me feel feelings. Like,
Get those feelings out of here.
this is a happy house.
So, so then I mean, they hated it to a point that they were trying to keep you from it, or did they eventually accept it and be like,
They accepted it. They were just like, they're gonna do what they're gonna do.
yeah,
But
that's
they,
good.
they they still tried to like, fight like you shouldn't be listening to that. It's poison or whatever, and it's like, well, never mind. I don't think I said it. Like some of the music they used to listen to is poison to me, but
But isn't it funny how like anything that talks about questioning authority always seems to have people like especially religious sects
oh
up
yeah,
in arms?
oh yeah,
Because that music, there's a lot of music that all those bands that you're talking about. A lot of those bands are questioning norms. They're questioning questioning the man, questioning
oh yeah.
authority, and so like it always seems so funny how like religions and even political sects and like how they'll demonize any kind of music that sort of talks about not just following and complying.
Oh,
Really,
yeah.
it's really interesting type cult behavior. But whatever. Different strokes for different folks. And if people find happiness in LDS or Catholicism or being a Republican, well, goddamn, go and be yourself. But
Yeah, yeah.
but what's interesting is that people get so locked up in the momentum of their teachings or their beliefs or their ideologies that they start demonizing and pushing people out of their life and make like setting this very stringent path for themselves that I feel like is can be kind of, I don't know, detrimental to the to the
Well,
psyche, but it works for them.
in their own way. It's like, well, even Archangel Michael didn't want to rebuke Satan. He didn't even want to do accusations against them because the accuser is Satan. So he said, "Let God rebuke thee." So it's like you turn it around on and be like, "Well, you're telling me that." You're telling me that I have to be a certain way. That's taking away my free agency, which is actually of the devil.
Well, so do you still?
People are like, "Oh."
Yeah, I've tried doing kind of stuff like that with my uncle, who's he was a minister and staunch Republican. Which again, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, whatever. It's just that he's just a very pompous and pious man. You know what I mean? You try to speak that kind of thing to them, and then they have like 20 other things that back that up. So it's just to back up their argument that's they're.
I was kind of forced into going to church and stuff, and I fell away from it when I was like 13. And then when I was older, I'm not religious. I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. I've gone to ayahuasca ceremonies. I've done peyote ceremonies with the Lakota. I've done research on like the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindi scriptures, I've done my research, and believe it or not, I've actually read the Bible.
Wait, so now did you read the Mormon Bible or the like King James Bible?
The King James Bible, like the Old Testament, the New Testament, and everything in it is like. I'm glad that I was able to learn it and stuff. And whenever anybody comes at me with any particular topic, like with regards to spirituality, like let me think of one. Well, I don't want to be too controversial,
It's okay. We seem to find controversy wherever we go here, so go ahead, please.
For example, like, oh man, I don't have anything against like homosexuals or anything by any means. If you swing that way, that's totally fine. I'm not gonna be like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that because. Right. Whatever. But from my understanding and from my research and everything, because I've researched it, I personally don't feel like I've thought about it. I'm totally straight. I'm like, I've thought about this. Okay. And
where's this going, baby? Where's this going? I love it.
Whenever I come out and people are like, well, here's my problem with the Bible and where it's talked about homosexuality and all this, and it's like, well, first of all, it doesn't say, it doesn't rag on homosexuality at all. The only thing it says is in a few places in Leviticus, it says, for a man to lay with a man as he lays with a woman is abomination in the sight of God. Mm-hmm. And it's because we have the seed, which is the creation of life. So when you take that's in one of the first 4 books of the Bible, which is considered like the Torah. You go into, after that, you go into, it's either in Samuel or in one of the Book of Kings. There, it talks about David, King David, right? When it introduces this person, it's like really, it introduces him as a feminine man of like a fair countenance. It's not like he was a man of great stature and broad and when you read the scriptures, it actually pumps people up. Like, and then there was Goliath, who was a man of great stature, and explains it. Then it explains David. It's like, here's a feminine, petite man of a fair countenance. He had feminine traits, basically. When he beats Goliath, he comes into Saul's favor, the king, who has a son named Jonathan, and Jonathan and David love each other.
Oh.
And I'm like reading into this, and I'm like, I'm getting a weird vibe from this. Like, is anybody else reading this and being like, David and Jonathan are a little close? Like, to the point where one day at dinner table, King Saul grabs a javelin and throws it at David to try to kill him. Like, during dinner, because he sees this and he says, oh, sorry. He says something like an angry spirit of the Lord came unto me or something like that when I saw that. Or he said something like that. Anyway, my point is, a little bit later on, there's a spot in there where it's like, one day Jonathan is shooting his bow and arrow in the field, and he tells his archer boy that he's with, go run to the house and get me my quiver of bow and arrows, whatever. And it says, like, when you read the scriptures, there's like a little P, like a little sub paragraph part of that chapter. It says, like, when he was gone, David arose from his hiding place. And so when you say hiding place, it means he's hiding there. Like, they're meeting in secret at that spot. And I was like, I got this weird vibe. I'm like, something's happening here. It's like, you're reading this, and it's like, David approaches Jonathan, and he falls on his knees, and he says, and he begs for forgiveness from God. And it's like, okay, that's kind of weird. And then he says something to the effect of, though God be between my seed and thy seed, I will always love thee, or something like that. And it's weird because it says they fall on each other and kiss. And normally in the scriptures, when they say, like, when he kissed her on the brow or kissed on the cheek, or, like, it's very specific, but they just kiss. It's like, whoa, that's kind of weird. So the whole point of this thing that I'm getting at is we're all born with masculine and feminine qualities. The purpose of this life that it talks about, not only the Bhagavad Gita, but in the Bible, is that we need to balance our masculine and our feminine energies. So David, realizing this, like, hey, man, I love you, but you're a dude, and we both have the seed. And in Leviticus, because I'm a studied, learned person, it says, for a man to lay with a man is abomination in the sight of God. And so he says, I'll always love you, but we can't do this. So he kisses him and says, we're going to go our separate ways or whatever. After that, because David balances his feminine and his homosexual tendencies, he balances that. He gives birth to literally the greatest king that has ever lived, which is King Solomon, soul of man. Like it's crazy. There's a lot of stuff to back this. Like, if you read, like, the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is talking about the genders and how there's only 3, which is male, female, and neuter. The people that neuter. He says neuter, but it's like people that have both, like hermaphrodites. There's only those 3. There's no way. I'm not trying to, like, get, like, so I'm saying it's a very controversial topic. Yeah. I'm just going off of all the research that I've done and what I've felt through the spirit. 'Cause I've with all the ceremonies that I've done, I've asked for the power of discernment and to be able to discern the truth based off of the feeling of the spirit, being guided by that feeling or whatever. And it's got me pretty far so far. I've actually had to ostracize quite a few people because I was like, man, that mode of behavior, that what you do is not right.
No, for sure, man. No, that's an important part. That's an important part, I think, that people miss a lot is, it's keeping.
And then you got these people that I'm hanging out with that are like, dude, I was stealing this from Walmart, and I had this. I walked out with that 42-inch TV. It's like, wait a minute, from Walmart? What? And it's like, guilty by association. Like, I drove you to Walmart.
Wait, I took you to Walmart that day. What the fudge, dude?
I thought you bought that TV. Nope.
Well, that's why I told you to step on it. Drive away quickly.
Yeah. He's like, you better drive. That's why I said drive.
No, but there's a great point there is that, if you're trying to be better, if you're trying to better yourself, you gotta take an assessment of the people you surround yourself with. Because those are the people. Because if those people aren't lifting you up, if there's not a mutual benefit to being friends with each other, and I'm not saying that you should be expecting things from your friends, but I'm saying if they're not mutually beneficial spiritually in that way, I think it's time to cut that shit out. Because
that's one of the other things. It's not just the stealing thing, but like people that don't respect your point of view. So like after my first ayahuasca ceremony, when I come back and I was talking to people, it's like, dude, I realize that these addictions that I have are killing me. That the way that I'm living, it's not right. And then they're like, oh, that's just they're trying to brainwash you. Yeah. And I'm like ragging on what I'm telling them sincerely. Like, dude, I just had this mind-blowing, profound experience, and you're like ragging on that and telling me it's a brainwash thing, that I shouldn't look too far into it. And it's like, what are your intentions? And then I start realizing that the only time they would really hit me up is because they needed a ride, or they wanted Back when I used to drink, I used to bring a 30 pack wherever I went because I was an alcoholic. So I always had alcohol. So
Yeah.
anybody would like hit me up, hey, come hang out. And I realized that when I stopped like feeding into that negative energy of those people that were just using me and taking advantage of me, it just kind of I never got any more texts.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, no, and that's a great I mean, yeah, exactly. It's when you have especially with addiction and stuff, it's like, man, you really got to take a real assessment of who you're surrounding with yourself with then. And when I first started this part of the talk, we're talking about just if you want to be a better person in general, outside of religion or anything, if you just want to better yourself, one of the first things you want to do is take an assessment of how you are and then who you are surrounding yourself with. I really like Jordan Peterson. Have you ever read anything by Jordan Peterson?
um, is he the guy who talks about like the Illuminati?
No,
And,
no. He's a clinical psychiatrist, and he's gotten some fame in the past couple years because he wrote a book called 12 Steps to something. God, I'm so terrible. Anyways, he talks a lot about just self improvement, but in like a really in a realistic manner that's not because when you hear people talk about self improvement, it's like you got to do this and you got to do that and you're on your way to success, and it's like very, it's just very commercial, just
mm,
very not hoity toity, just very ridiculous. It's just like go on, be a better person and be positive. Is yeah. Jordan, yes, thank you, Amelia Ray Music. I appreciate. Hey, Amelia, welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you very much. Yeah, Jordan Peterson. He talks about I think one of the first chapters or one of the chapters is called "Clean Your Room," and it's basically he's talking about like literally cleaning your room, but then metaphorically cleaning your room by sort of taking an assessment of what you're doing in your life, how you want to better yourself, and then taking a look at the people you surround yourself with. Now, when you're talking about addiction, that's a whole nother thing. Well, it falls in the same category, I think, but it's also very. I feel like it's a different. It's the same category, but it's just very higher stakes, right? Because if you're trying to quit something like heroin or alcohol and you're hanging out with your friends and all they're doing is drinking and shooting dope, then what's your chances of getting out of that circle without falling
oh yeah,
back into your same old patterns?
company. So like when you're around them and you're trying to quit, and they're like, "Oh man, you can, how about just one last time, dude? Just if you're stopping, you can at least do it one more time." And then like that one more time, if you were like dead set on it and you end up doing it, then you just go right back into that same cycle. And those people love to just keep you there.
Yeah,
They don't
yeah.
have the
Misery
ability.
loves company.
Yeah,
I would love to sort of. So, when did you start messing around with drugs and alcohol? Then, when did that start coming into your life?
like middle school,
Oh
like
shit!
yeah, like probably like around 12, 13 ish.
Wow.
It was
What
really young.
What did you start with?
Weed and mushrooms.
Weed and mushrooms. Mushrooms are so wow. Wait, no, because I started similar. I think I smoked my first like joint. I'm doing quotes because I was like 10. I was like 10 years old. And I think about it, it's like I have nieces and nephews who are 10 and 12, and like I'm just thinking about like holy shit. Like I can't even imagine them doing the things I was doing because at 10 years old I was getting drunk. Our parents had to work a lot, so me and my sister had a free reign to sort of do whatever we wanted for a certain amount of time, which is no children should ever have free reign to do whatever they want all the time. So, my parents didn't know. This was the 80s. They were just trying to get shit together. But 80s and 90s, I suppose. But yeah, man, I had that same similar thing going on where I started really early. And then so how did that correlate with your music? How did that work with your music? Cuz I know for me it fucking hindered everything I was trying to do until I cut off alcohol and narcotics. So I'm just curious, what was your sort of musical journey in relationship with your
Well, it
addictions?
really helped me get to like feeling the music and starting to think like, oh, that's what I want to do. Is when I like was using the psilocybin mushrooms with. I was listening to Nine Inch Nails,
Which
like
which album or all of them?
the Halo 16, the things falling apart, with the one that has the Leaving Hope song on it.
Is that
The very last song's called Leaving Hope on it, and it's like it's such an amazing freaking album.
what?
And I was feeling it. I like had the volume turned up, and I could literally just feel everything. Like it made my heart. It was the weirdest thing. It was like I've cried, but like at that time, it felt like my heart had gotten so big that it just like was just gushing, like just crying, like just my heart. It was like whoa, like I could feel it throughout my entire body, and I was like, man, that's extremely powerful stuff. And then I remember um, playing the guitar and on the same thing, and I came up with this little solo that like just kind of took over, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is what I want to do. I want to be able to feel that, like I want to be able to write something that makes me feel the way that I did when I listened to that, and I want to make other people feel the way that I feel through that.
Mm. Hey man, no, but that's yeah, but that's the great thing about like psychedelics. I guess psychedelics, and when you're talking about psychedelics and you're talking about narcotics, you're talking about two different drugs completely.
Oh,
It's not it's because because I
wow.
had that similar thing too, man. Where I took LSD at a young age, at the age of 14, and I was a very scared, religious young boy. And I remember
Yeah.
taking LSD and being like, "Oh, that's all bullshit." And then as I get older, and it even turned into a hatred, not a hatred, but an anger and a disdain for religion. Which in my older years I've let go of that completely because again, different strokes for different folks,
When
and
I
who
was,
am I to fucking say anything?
I got into the opiates because of at my freshman year in high school.
Your freshman year in high school.
I got into a on my birthday, freshman year in high school, May 22nd. I got in a serious car accident going 90 miles an hour through Immigration Canyon, going from Idaho to Logan, Utah, and I ended up I ended up being hospitalized for a month and a half on like I had a huge list of injuries, and I because of that I started. That's where I got addicted to the opiates, and
Mm-hmm.
so I had a 13-year opiate dependency, and I didn't. The last year of that was to heroin because by that time, by the 12th year, I had ran out of insurance, and I uh, couldn't afford it. It was 300. My $5 or $8 bottle with taxes. It was $8 for 30 oxycodone tens, and then it went from that, like basically $8 of 30 of those to $352 without insurance. And I was like, whoa, like I can't afford that.
Yeah, heroin's much cheaper.
Yeah, I started having withdrawals and stuff, and my buddy's like, man, you do not look good. You should try smoking some of this. And just smoked some. I was like, man, you should let me have some of that. And a week later, I went back to him, and I was like, can I get some more of that opium or whatever you said that we were smoking? And he's like, oh, the cheese? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, the black, the heroin. And I was like, oh, well, I guess, yeah,
Yeah, that shit. Give that. I feel better when I smoke that, so let me have that.
yeah. And so that's basically where it went from there. Is
So it
yeah,
started from an accident.
yeah,
That is such a common thing. I'm in Ohio right now, and Ohio is still reeling from the opiate epidemic. And I mean, my father was really heavily addicted to OxyContin, but that was because of a car accident. And that's sort of where I fell into it too, is because I was stealing his drugs because I was a little degenerate, and I was like, "Fuck it, let's go eat some pills and fucking party," and it was fun
uh,
for a while. But
2 months later, after they are like, well, you don't need these anymore. You're all healed up. Like 7 or 8 months later, I was like,
yeah,
but I still need those. That was back before they were like, oh, addiction's a thing with pain pills.
yeah,
That was back like 2001 or 2002. It
mm,
was forever ago. And so like for them to be like, oh, you don't need these anymore. And then I was like, oh well, my friend, I know that his mom has something for her back, and then so I'd go over to my friend's place, and then I'd be like, then I'd feel terrible. I was like, man, I shouldn't be stealing. And then so I ended up hurting myself. I'd end up like breaking, like my hand, like on purpose, so like break
Whoa.
on purpose, so I could go and get those for a few months and just have them prescribed to me. And
Well, and then how old were you at this time when you're starting to really be like, oh my God, I need to get these to the point I got to break myself?
it was like freshman year in high school,
God damn, that's really
like
young, man.
14 or 15. You know what I mean?
That's very, very young. I mean, especially to be physically dependent. I mean, again, that story is like a lot of people I know and a lot of people who suffer from opiate addiction is that they hurt their back or they got in a car accident. And these are just normal, everyday people who are just like, I just slipped and fell on a banana peel and now I'm shooting dope. Like
Yeah.
it's I know it's a fucking I know it's a ridiculous thing to think about, but I mean, when you lay it out like that, where it's like, okay, you have to take these pills because you are in extreme pain for months on end, and then it's like, okay, well, you're healed, you're better, now let's get you off those drugs, and then it's like, well, no, my body still needs those drugs, so how
Or
can
like, oh, well, addiction's a choice. I mean, you people, I've seen that on Facebook so many different times. Like, oh well, no, you can stop. Anybody can stop. It's a choice. They put themselves there, and it's like actually, it's not that simple, dude. Some people have in their genetics, like if someone in their family line has been addicted before, and they happen to have that, and then even though they may have never done any substance throughout their life, and they happen to need that, and then all of a sudden it's like, man, I actually need that. They find themselves to be an addict. And it's like, I didn't have a choice. I was like, I took those because I was in a car accident and I was in excruciating pain. I had 16 fractures.
yeah.
So like, like
Yeah.
it's kind of like, well, that was your bad.
Yeah.
You
And
should
then
have pain and not took those opioids. That was a choice.
yeah, well, and and I mean, it sucks because these are doctors who are prescribing these things, and people who did get in an accident who don't know anything about hard drugs are just like the doctor. It came from the doctor, and the doctor says this, and the doctor says that. Meanwhile, the doctor is just the drug dealer. I mean, he's the one peddling the drugs, and then when it's time to take the drugs away, there's no real easy solution for that. And I mean, now it's getting better because there's different drugs, different programs that people can kind of go through, especially after an injury. These are good ideas for people to go and seek treatment because it's not an easy thing to get away from. And even during my dad's time, which was back in like mid 2000s, there was no one even was talking about it really. No one even was talking about like the addiction from medically prescribed pills that were prescribed originally for a medical reason. No one was really talking about that in the mid 2000s. Like it was still just sort of this like, well, he's a drug addict, go fuck yourself, And
Yeah.
my dad, on the other hand, no one was like, he's a drug addict. He really needed pain pills, and I mean, he was in horrible, horrible pain from his accident, but still he developed this need and this addiction, and like he turned very, very nasty if he didn't have his pills. If he didn't have his 4 o'clock cocktail of oxycontin and codeine and all the whole thing, like it was a bad afternoon for everybody. So I'm glad that it's getting more attention these days, but I definitely think that there's still some stigma behind it that makes a lot of people not want to talk about it. And that's really what I appreciate about you, is that I think that's one of the first things that you read in your bio is like, I was on heroin and then I went and did ayahuasca.
Yeah.
I
I
love
mean, it's
that.
very clear. I'm an advocate to try to get rid of that stigma because it's not like that with everything. Like there's a different point of view. Everybody has a story. It's not like, oh yeah, he was just born a heroin addict piece of shit.
Yeah.
No, that's not how it works.
Right. This shit's developed over time, and
Bio, yeah, I wanted that to be like, hey, I want you to know right now, a dead desire means that the desire to use heroin and opiates is completely dead.
yeah.
And I stress that very, very much.
So then, how was your music career after high school? Then, what were you doing? What were you? I mean, and during this time, you're still kind of have this monkey on your back with the drugs and stuff. But what were you doing with music and such? You know, after high school, when you start to become sort of your own person.
Well, I got out of high school and I kind of partied for like a year. I just wanted to take a break, and then after that, I got accepted to the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences in Tempe, Arizona.
Oh, nice.
And I went there and I studied audio engineering, and I graduated as a certified audio engineer. Um, I took like music business class, live stage technique, like miking, studio recording, just everything in general, everything that has to do with the entertainment industry. Like they taught post production for movies, they taught video games, they taught literally everything. And I kind of got shafted on my internship when I got back from there. I moved to Salt Lake, and the place that had set up my internship, I had already signed my lease and I had settled in, and I was getting ready to go in on Monday, and I called to get directions on where to go, and the woman's like, "Oh, I thought they told you, but the owner's son had a friend who he gave the internship to." And I was, "Oh, wow, that's cool." Um,
Okay, well, I guess I'm in Salt Lake City now.
yeah, and there's no other recording studio that's accepting an internship. That's great. You could have told me that. That way I could have moved to like Nashville or Seattle or Portland or some other place with a recording studio.
Right.
I was so kind of pissed off about it. Then I got a an internship at a theater, a movie theater that did old school reel to reel films. So I was able to do post production internship with
Sweet.
splicing film together and being an usher bee and learning how to do the whole Brad Pitt thing from Fight
Hell
Club.
yeah, man! But that shit's cool though. I mean, I love that old school. I mean, even though it's kind of a that the splicing film thing is kind of a thing of the past these days. I know it's kind of making a little resurgence for with these like people like that old style film thing, but
Yeah.
like that's a really interesting thing to go into, especially as a young man, just sort of. So so then what were you doing with music then? Were you in Salt Lake City? Were you singing? Because you have a first of all you have a hell of a voice and you got great control. I like to watch your mouth move and I'm not shitting on you at all. I like to watch the control you have over your mouth because you create such a big sound and you have a big push and so I like to watch your mouth because it moves so intricately and great. It's like watching a great jazz guitarist and watching his fingers move. You know what I mean? Do you get what I'm saying? Like I always get mesmerized by really good players and people who have like a really good control over their instrument, and it's probably because I don't. So I always get mesmerized by that kind of thing. But what were you doing? I mean, like, when did you always have that big verbose, that big voice, the ah?
I always kind of suppressed that, and I wasn't able to really sing and play the guitar about until about a year, 2 years after high school, or no, wait a minute. No, it was about a year right before I went to the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences. Shit, no, that's not true either. I'm trying to think of when I
Hey man,
actually started singing and playing the guitar because it was so hard. I remember one day I sat down and I just tried for like 8 hours just to try to because I had a guitar part written down and I had a melody that I wanted to sing over it, and I was like, man, I can't have someone else play my guitar part because they don't feel it like I do, and I want to be able to feel the guitar and sing over it and combine these two. So I just sat down and I played until I did it, and I think that was 2008 or 2009. 2009 is when it was actually, because that's when it was around the same year that I did the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences. And I had a Roland VS 2400 recording studio that I was uh, I ended up getting and putting the guitar down first and then doing the vocal over it to see how that would sound, and then I would combine them both. Like it's kind of like tuning an instrument, like but like tuning myself into being able to do that.
Yeah.
Try to explain because it's like, but I was never able to just project, and even when I did first start singing, it took me a while, and honestly, there was one time that I had done like it was like a 12-gram psilocybin ceremony where I really was feeling my guitar, and I just like it just came out like just boom. It was like, whoa, that was amazing. Like, and then I got like the feeling like it's kind of like where if you see someone that's like 30 feet away in a field, and there's a whole bunch of like let's say there's a whole bunch of cars driving by, and it's really loud, and you're like trying to get a hold of that person. Let's say there's like a mountain lion running to that person that's 30 feet away, and they can't hear you. So how are you gonna like reach that person? Like that type of projecting, like hey, like deep in your chest, like, and so it's like you do that even you project that way even when you're singing quietly. It's like you try to project no matter. It's so weird to try to explain it. The way that I had learned how to project that way, and then being able to play the guitar and do it at the same time, then being able to control the volume, like the projection of the voice with the level of the guitar, and then being able to. It's weird to try to explain it, like.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to find a balance between the both where you want to where when you want to like express yourself maybe a little bit more louder, and it's like balancing the volume between your guitar and your voice, and actually having your brain doing these two different mechanical things at once is also you're trying to get your hands and your fingers to do the frets, but then you're trying to get your diaphragm and your vocal cords to sort of do their thing, and meanwhile you got to remember the words, you're remembering where your hands go. There's a lot that is involved with doing that. It took me a long time to do it too, and I still am awful at it, but it's just, it does take some time. It takes timing is weird as well. It's just it's a weird thing to wrap your head around. So you came to find your like loud yelling, your loud verbal, because you said something where it's like this. You're kind of doing the same technique whether you're projecting or whether you're singing something lightly. It's sort of a control thing, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
it's not about um I can't explain. My wife's a vocal coach, so or vocal teacher, so like I got a little insight on this. But when you're pushing out and you're making noises, is like you're not trying to push out through your throat or through it's supposed to come from your diaphragm, from your stomach, and one of the things that I practice while I meditate is belly breathing because I'm trying to be a better singer. So I kind of get what you're saying when you're pushing out you want to be this concise and even sort of push, and whether you're yelling or you're singing quietly, you still want this even push that sort of comes out naturally and evenly throughout, which I'm doing a bad job of explaining. All
You're
of
good.
this I feel like I sound like an idiot talking, so let's not.
Oh no, you're good, bro. No, with everything with vocal technique, when I want it to be the same vibration, even so I want people to feel the same vibe of the entire song, if I am quiet or I'm projecting loud. So, for for instance, that From the Sun song off of like the Resurrecting the Mind, it starts off like, "You're taking nothing at all from me, and you're learning to fall." Even though I'm like singing quietly, I'm projecting with that. So there's actually a vibe behind that quietness, and then when I scream like, "You waking up in the sun," it's the same vibe, the same intensity in here. But it's weird to try to explain this. Like, it's the same flow of energy that I'm putting when I'm singing that than when I'm, "You've taken nothing at all. You're waking up in the sun." It's the exact same vibration, even though it sounds like I'm screaming at one point. I'm not. I'm keeping it the same level, the same vibe throughout the entire thing. And that's what it took me forever to be able to fine tune while playing the guitar and doing all that. I got into this to do music, to like play music and write music, but turns out that it's like 4/5 business and 1/5 like playing the guitar and writing music. And then so I've had to do my own I do all my own web design. I do all my own. I'm my own cinematographer, my video editor, director, producer, promoter, manager, marketer. I do everything, and it's gotten to a point where it's like, man, I kind of want to just play music.
I
You know what I
feel
mean?
you. I feel you. No, and there's something really key behind what you just said. There is the fact that the way the music industry works right now is like you're in your best interest. It's in your best interest to be able to handle as many things as possible on your own. And if you are looking to go find a label, which I don't even know why people want labels now, other than they want more money to be
I
pushed
would
and
I
further.
wouldn't do a label. Even it's not even that you get. Well, you would get money, but the
But
thing with a lot.
I'm saying like they put more money behind marketing is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
not in your pocket because they definitely don't put the money in your pocket. It's
They put it in the old music industry.
exactly.
They put it in a machine that's dying. They like, for instance, I know a guy who's like the CEO of Radio Contraband, or like the rock guy who does the rock radio convention every year. And I was like, man, I got the "Here Comes the Rain Again" cover song. Like, how do I do this? He's like, well, to promote that to radio, you're gonna need at least $50,000. And I was like, what? And he's like, just for that one song. And I was like, man, that's ridiculous. And then you got the new industry where you can take that $50,000 and invest it in yourself and do Spotify ads, and you run Facebook ads, Instagram story ads, and you can start blowing up your audience. And you don't, it'll get to the point where you get so big on Spotify that you start charting on Billboard, and then you got people that are like, oh, why haven't we been playing this alternative rock band that's got millions and millions of streams right now? Like, what the hell are we doing? And then that's the point where it's like, you don't need to pay $50,000 to have radio. At that point, you've paid $10,000, and you've gotten to the point where radios are actually begging you to put it on their station so they can get better reviews and ratings. So it's like the old music industry it's an illusion. It's like you're supposed to go out there and play so many shows until you get noticed, and you're just supposed to keep putting out new music and just keep doing shows and keep playing. But you need a publicist, you need a website, you need music videos, you need so I basically everything that a record label has and does, I do. I have my own. I have Tones After Dark Publishing LLC that I started. I'm my own publicist on ASCAP. I have a Dead Desire LLC, which I started. I have Subtle Sound Productions LLC, which is my video production company where I do all my own music videos that I've started. I literally do everything that a record label does, and the last thing that I was lacking was marketing and promotion, because I just didn't know how to do it. And just this last month, I bought a $1,000 program that's been walking me through the business manager on Facebook, and goes through in depth about the Facebook pixel and how to set it up, how to do conversions, how to target. It teaches everything about it's just everything about the business marketing part of Facebook. And I started implementing that on the 16th of November, and I've literally tripled my Spotify followers since the 16th of November. I've gotten over 220 subscribers on YouTube, over 522 hours of watch time on YouTube, over 700 new followers on Instagram, over 300 page likes on my Dead Desires Facebook band page. I mean, the results, they're just skyrocketing right now. And that was the last thing that I needed. And so now at this point, I'm just waiting to get to the point where I make so much noise with the numbers that people from radio stations start hitting me up, where I no longer need to be solicited. At that point, I will be solicited, because it's like, oh, look at how many millions of streams this person has. Can we play you? It'll get to the point where I can call the radio station and say, hey, this is Moroni Silva from A Dead Desire. Oh, hey, how's it going? Yeah, well, I'm working with this band, And, I started my own record label because I have everything the record label does. All I need is one more band or an LLC that's another band that I can combine and I can make a record label. And then just be like, well, I'm working with this band, really good. You should check this out. So they listen to it. At that point, that new band is no longer unsolicited. It's solicited because the radio station knows me. I'll be able to recommend it. Hey, you should listen to it, and if it's good, you should play it. At that point, I can do that to every radio station. So that's why when I go to the rock radio convention, there's a lot of record labels that don't really like talking to me anymore. As I had the opportunity, I had the opportunity to get signed, but at this point, I was talking to my buddy Steve, and he's like, "Well, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to do that? You have your own publishing company. You have your own music. You do your own music videos. You have complete creative control. You own the masters. You own the copyrights to literally everything. If you were to get signed, you would literally give up immediately. You would give up 50% of all of your rights to publishing to their publicist. Then you got 20 to 25% that they would take for the manager. Then you'd get 10% for the record label, or 15% depending on how generous they feel. By the end of it, you're stuck with anywhere from 10 to 15% of what you're making, and so all those millions and millions of dollars are being made by the record label. Yeah, the musicians still, they live the high life. They're like, yeah, look how much we're getting paid. But it's like on the back end, it's like, look how much you're getting screwed out of.
Right.
Because you're only getting 10% of what you're earning.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous. So I've veered away from the whole, oh, I need to get a record deal. And so I found out how to market, and I'm really excited. I got, just last week I sold 3.33% of A Dead Desire, the equity of A Dead Desire for $10,000. So I was able to start marketing. So 3.33% doesn't really seem like that much, but it's actually extremely generous because if there's I never knew who Brantley Gilbert was, but apparently he's like a country singer, and I know the stage tech for Godsmack and Korn and a whole bunch of really big bands, and we've hung out several times. And while I'm talking to him, he's told me several times about this story with Brantley Gilbert where he was really open about his finances with him, and he was like, well, he was telling him that for every 50 to 60,000 person stadium that he sells out, depending on the demographic, depending on where it is, he makes $13 to $19 million per show. Jeez. So if you were to look at that, and let's just say for to make it easy, let's just say $10 million. If I were to get $10 million for a show, 3.33%, what is that? Isn't that like it's either 33,333 or 333,333. It's one of the two, but it's a lot of money.
I can't remember. I can't do it. I'm terrible at math.
Well, let me see here. I'll do 10 million. Let me see, 10 million. And then you go times 0.0333. Yeah, $333,000. So for one show, that investor is gonna. If I got paid $10 million for one show, that investor would make $333,000. That's a good investment. That's a good return on investment for $10,000.
Yeah.
So it was pretty easy to get that, especially where it's like, I own all the money isn't even in touring. The money is in licensing and getting TV commercial placements and movie deals and video game placements, because it's $250 a minute for the music that's streamed. That's just for the music that's streamed. So if you got a car commercial, let's say you got a car commercial that's 30 seconds long, and you got a publishing deal for like a licensing deal, and you have, just to put this into perspective, we'll start with one TV station who plays your 30-second car commercial 20 times in a 24-hour period. So that's 10 minutes. That's 10 minutes in a 24-hour period. You get paid $2,500 for that one station. So let's say that there's 10 stations in a day that's playing that car commercial 20 times. That's $25,000 in one day. Yeah. You times that by 30, that's $750,000 for 1 month. You times that by 3 because they pay you out quarterly. That's $2,250,000 that you would get paid for a 30-second car commercial.
Right.
It's crazy, man.
Well, I kind of want to back up a minute because when you're talking about investments and you're talking about someone you're giving 3.33% on, I mean but you have to get that $10 million first. That's the thing. That's the hard part, right? Is
So
finding
the reason,
that gig. Where's that gig? How do people
so
get that?
the reason why I borrowed the 10,000 is because if so far I have spent, since I started the ads on the 16th of November, I've spent $1,000 and I've reached over 1.6 million people and had over 9,000 engagements.
Hmm.
I've collected over 100 emails from people that actually love my music.
Hmm.
So I've set up a funnel basically where there's 3 steps of friction that they have to go through in order to download the song. So I've gotten over 100 people that have taken the 3 steps of friction, which is putting in their first name and their email, and then they have to connect to Spotify and follow my artist profile and a playlist that I started, and then they get to download the song. And I've had over 100 people do that already.
Hmm.
So when I get my shop on my website up and running, which it's accepting PayPal right now only, but you get on there and I can literally send a link to my shop to all those 100 diehard fans and be like, hey, I thank you, because they have to give me their first name. I can say, hey, hey Julie, my name is Moroni Silva from A Dead Desire. I wanted to personally thank you for downloading the Vanity song. Here's a link to my store on the website. Just wanted to let you know it's up and running. Just give it check it out and let me know what you think. And at that point, these are people that already love your music. So the chances of them buying something from your website at that point are extremely high.
Yeah.
So what I'm working on doing right now, I was actually going to try to head out around 12:30, was to get the website. I'm working on getting PayPal merchant services to accept debit and credit cards on my website, 'cause that's the only thing that's not working. You
Mm.
can have a PayPal account, you can log in, you can check out and everything, but you go to click on debit or credit card, and it gives me the weirdest error. It just says things don't appear to be working right now. That's all it says. It's just,
Tech, dude. Tech.
yeah, it's like
Fucking tech, man.
it doesn't even say contact this for support or
Yeah.
what to do. It just says, oh, look at that. These things just don't
So
appear to be working.
so I'm sorry to interrupt there, but so then you got about 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, then I would love for you in the last 10 minutes to kind of talk about your because I had, I guess we got too much into the music, but I loved your latest video that you have, Mantra, and you put something at the beginning of that about the Navajo Nation and the what COVID's been doing to them, to these these sovereign people, and I was just wondering how much you knew about, because I really don't know what's going on within these communities, and there's a lot of things that are going unreported right now, and there's a lot of fallout from this whole COVID um, situation. So I'm just curious on what you know about what's going on in these communities due to COVID.
Some of those reservations, like as you're going on the interstate, they have the exits completely blocked off because of
Mm.
how bad it is, apparently. And a good friend of mine, his name's Terry, was telling me, he's a trucker, and he was telling me, like, hey man, this the Navajo Nation right now really, really needs some help. Um, and it's funny because he was telling me about this, and all of a sudden I got this thing from pandos.org the same day he was telling me about this. This guy's like, hey, we're looking to do this thing to raise awareness for the Native American, the Navajo, and the surrounding tribes. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm totally down to help. And so they had asked to do a music, like a video of me performing a song, and I was like, well, that's perfect, because I just recorded this mantra song in the studio, and I had the video up because I wanted to have footage of me being in the studio recording the Thunder Rolling Down the Mountain album.
Mm.
And I mean, the way that it all fits in, it's a really, really mind-blowing situation, because the Thunder Rolling Down the Mountain album, the cover of it is Chief Joseph. It's him split in half on both sides, and Thunder Rolling Down the Mountain is actually Chief Joseph's Native American name. It's the the English translation of what his name meant.
Mm,
So his name was actually Thunder Rolling Down the Mountain,
that's
and so I
nice.
named my album after him. And the whole album has got this spiritual, um, kind of like a native type feel, and it's from the last few ceremonies. The ayahuasca ceremonies that I had been to were so powerful. Like, I, yeah, they were insane. They're really really beautiful. Like,
So you do this, you do the ayahuasca thing, you do that regularly. You didn't just do it once. You continue to
I've
do.
been to, I've been to about 30 ayahuasca ceremonies, and I've been to volunteered about 10 of those.
Wow.
So I've gone to about 20 of them to attend.
So what
But
kind of what's kind of going on within these communities? Do you know what sort of how they're being affected right now?
the
Because
the
of
Native
the
Americans are.
yeah, because just because you wrote that thing at the beginning of the video for
Yeah.
mantra,
Well,
I
my
was just
my my friend Terry was saying, because he's native, and he was saying how bad it is, and there's a lot of people that are dying on the reservations.
mm,
To what extent I don't know, because they have everything blocked off.
yeah.
So like he can't even take those exits, even though like he's native. They won't let him go there.
Oh, wow. Oh, I see. So they block. Nobody's allowed in or out. Is
I
that?
had heard that's what it was.
Ah,
He
I
said that he
see.
couldn't. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know anybody on the reservations that I could contact and be like, hey, what's going on? Otherwise,
Hey, how's your day going, bud? Yeah.
yeah,
No,
because
no, I got you. I got you. I was just curious. I was just curious. We're kind of running low on time here, so I'd love for you to give us your experience because you were, are addicted to opiates for so long. Can you kind of give us a run through of your experience getting off of heroin?
oh, it was brutal.
I bet.
Uh,
Yeah, mine was too. It was not. It's not
I
fun.
wouldn't wish that kind of pain on anybody, but
It's
I
pretty
ended
terrible.
up going on. I got arrested on March 4th of 2015. I had heroin on me, and I was in jail for about 2.5 days, and my delirium tremors and my withdrawals were so bad that I felt like I was dying.
Yeah.
And so I like had finally got a hold of my father from the jail, and I like begged him to come and get me, and I had to tell him what was going on, and super pissed off. And yeah, like uh my withdrawals were so brutal. Like, my father took me to his place, out in Trenton, and basically locked me in the attic, took away my phone, and he literally like basically locked me in the attic. Like,
Wow.
you're clean out from that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
And
Wow.
so I did, but I still had the cravings and the triggers and stuff. So like, and triggers for me were really bad. So like the sound of the snow falling, that soft little,
Yeah.
it was like a gentle sound that you can hear. That was a trigger for me. The cold, crisp air in the wintertime when you go outside and your nostrils smell that brisk, cold morning air. That was a trigger.
Uh-huh.
There's so many triggers that are just like daily life things that like you go out and it's like, man, this sucks.
Yeah.
And, so I went. Uh, my buddy Omar at the end of March told me I went to an open mic thing at the Royal, where Royal Bliss.
Yeah, I played there.
Yeah, the Royal. I went to an open mic night there, and my buddy Omar from my first band was there, and he's like, "Hey man, I heard about your struggle. I'm really glad that you're getting off that shit." And he's like, "There's a ayahuasca. There's a no. He didn't say it. He said there's a spiritual. Um, what did he say? He's like, there's a spiritual gathering. No, a spiritual retreat. He's like, there's a spiritual retreat that I was going to go to at the end of April that I thought would really help out with your addiction. And I was like, well, what is it? And he's like, it's an ayahuasca ceremony. I was like, I'm so down, because I had researched how to get rid of these triggers, because I just met Steve Walker, the CEO of Radio Contraband, and he said that he'd be willing to work with me in the music industry, but if I were to relapse, he would never work with me ever again.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, there's only a month being clean. I don't want to risk this. So I went
Right.
to the ayahuasca ceremony, and I did the steps completely. I followed the diet to a T. I fasted for 72 hours. I did just everything that I was supposed to like a T. And it was such a profound ceremony. There was like a dead body, like literally to my left on the ground. I looked down. I was like, "Who is that?"
Oh my God.
And it was me. Like you could see, my skin was gray and decomposing and falling off my skull, and my clothes were covered in dust, and they were like tattered and withered. And I felt like I was part of the earth. And I was so terrified. I felt like I was having a heart attack. And I realized I was holding my breath. And right when I was about to leave my body, I guess you'd say, because I felt like I was dying. Right when it felt like I was about to leave my body, in the center of my forehead, this rose like blossomed open, and it just continually kept blossoming, and this light being with like these wings like came out, and he's like, "You need to breathe," and I was like, "Oh, what's going on? Am I dead?" And he's like, "No, no, you're not dead, but this is your addiction to heroin and opiates dying, but it's the exact same thing that'll happen to you if you choose to use any of those willingly ever again."
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So that's when it was the desire to use heroin and opiates was completely dead, a dead desire. That's where that spawned from.
And there you go. Moroni, I appreciate your time, man. I'm so sorry that we ruined like 20 minutes of it just me fucking off. But
No, you're good, man. You're
I
good.
definitely appreciate you pushing it, and I appreciate your time today, man. And I look forward to whatever you come up with next, man. You definitely have a sound, and I love that you do it all yourself. And I love that DIY punk rock kind of mentality about it. I got the same thing too, man. I do my own videos, do all my own shit. So
We got a Christmas song coming out on the 14th of December called the same old song. And then I got the Thunder Rolling Down the Mountain album I'm releasing a single off of that, the hollow single, in January. And then May I'm releasing the full acoustic album, the studio album that I've been working on.
right on, man. Well, I appreciate your time. And how can and you can find I put the adeaddesire.com in the chat if you guys want to click on that. Go ahead and do that. I'll also put I'll put the website and everything in the show notes. So anybody listening, go and click on that and get yourself some A Dead Desire. Okay,
I think
Moroni.
on Spotify too, that would help out.
Yes, please. I have oh, it's your YouTube. My bad. I didn't put your Spotify link in the chat, but the YouTube is there. But I'll put a Spotify link in the show notes, so when people go and click on it, they'll take you right there. Moroni Silva, thank you so much. You have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope you get a lot of marketing done.
Thank you, brother. I greatly appreciate it, man. You have a good one.
No worries. Have a good one, bro.
All right, bye.
Peace. All right. Well, that was a short one today, but that's okay. Thank you, Reina. All right, guys. I'm going to just sign up. Mighty. Thank you so much. Here's your Mighty. Ooh. It's a slapback delay today. Okay. I get you. All right. I am going to call it a day, and I will see you guys Friday with music streamer Big Chili Chill. Excited to talk to that fool. He's not a fool. I love Chili. It was an endearing term. Oh, too many things, mighty. Too many exclamation points. But that's okay, because we are done. All right, y'all. I'll see you guys Friday with Big Chili Chill.